Hi, hi, Boker Tov and Shavua Tov. This is the beginning of a new week on the program. It's the first time I've had Sunday morning, but I just want people. I'm sure you got messages and are aware that starting next week there's going to be more of a schedule in the Israel Center, back live and in person. But pay attention because we're looking forward to also doing programs not only live and in person in the OU Center, but in some other communities also. We're starting to run a program in Modi'in, and we're working on other places. So please watch carefully for all of the announcements. Shai, you're going to have to. Okay, thank you. You're going to have to mute yourself. You're going to have to wait. Whatever it is, we want to hear it, but in about 15 minutes. So it's the beginning of a new week, and it's also, and for some people, I mean, I don't really notice it so much. It's the beginning of a new year, but okay. In America, it was a bigger deal than here, mostly because I wrote checks and I had to remember to change the year. But otherwise, it is a new beginning, but it's also a new beginning of a chumash for us. We start Sefer Shmot, and I'm not sure everyone's aware of the fact that every one of our chumashim has not only the more popular name based on the first significant word in the book, Breshit, Shmot, Vayikra, etc., but there's also a rabbinic name for every book in the Torah. Breshit is Sefer Yetzirah, the book of formation. I guess in Greek you could call it Genesis. But the rabbinic name here for Sefer Shmot is Sefer Geula, the book of redemption, which of course is appropriate based on the content of the Sefer, but it's appropriate for us, for our nation, for our country, for our people right now, because we really would like to see and receive from HaKadosh Baruch Hu a geula in our present situation. So the newness, the new stuff that starts this week continues with the inauguration of our greatest Navi, Moshe Rabbeinu. And a couple of Nevi'im, like Yirmiyahu, have special ceremonies, special incidents around their becoming a Navi, but none of them are as impressive as the story and the vision that Moshe Rabbeinu has by the sneh. And besides the really impressive nature of it and how Moshe Rabbeinu, sees this bush burning but not being consumed, and he sees that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's voice is coming milabata esh, from the flame, but in it comes extremely important messages. And the important message begins in Pasuk Zion, verse 7. And Hashem says, I'll read the whole Pasuk. V'yomer Hashem, God speaks to Moshe Rabbeinu, even though before this Elokim was being used, but now that we're going to hear about the Geula, Kadosh Baruch Hu is now Yud Kei Vav Kei. So Hashem says, Ra'u Ra'iti. My translation says, I have marked well. That's how JPS translated. I've seen other translations say, I have surely seen, for the repetition, Ra'o Ra'iti, et ani ami, the affliction, the suffering of my people, Asher b'Mitzrayim, who are in Egypt. Ve'et za'akatam, and their outcry, Shamate, I've heard, mipnei nog sav, because of their taskmasters, people who are torturing them. Ki yadati et machovav, because of that, I really know their pain. So Kadosh Baruch Hu is telling us two important ideas in this pasuk. Number one, he sees our situation and he understands what is the basis of this terrible situation. So when we say, I have certainly observed or as JPS I have marked well, some people say that the ra'o ra'iti, the repetition of the verb to see, is for emphasis. I'm really not so happy with that kind of translation or that kind of exegesis, because whenever the idea is doubled, we try to find two ideas. So what is the double seeing of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So the Ibn Ezra, great Pashtan, wants to tell us what things really mean, says it means I have seen things no one else has seen or noticed. So when he says, Ra'o Ra'iti, I have not only seen the big picture, which was the simple thing to see. Everybody saw the Jews were slaves. But I have seen every detail of this slavery. When he says that I see and feel your pain, it's because of that second Ra'iti, the second verb to see. I've noticed, I really understand what's going on in ways that other observers may have missed. But I really love the pshat of the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, this great mystical commentary from the middle of the 18th century. He died in 1750 here in Yerushalayim after having been born in Morocco and North Africa. So the Or HaChaim explains Ra'o Ra'iti, the double language of God seeing. The first Ra'iyah, the first sighting, is that they have fulfilled the Brit Bein HaBetarim. Remember, the entire situation of Galut Mitzrayim was the fulfillment of the vision, Nevuah, that Avram Avinu had back in Parak Tedvav, in chapter 15 of Breshit, that the Jews would be strangers in a strange land for 400 years. So the first Ra'o is about the fact that the Jews have gone through the entire Galut, suffering, exile period, and that theoretically it's time for the exile to end. But what's the second Ra'iti? Chaim explains. When he continues, I also see the cruel behavior of the Egyptians. And as a result, not only have you done your 400 years outside of Eretz Yisrael, outside of owning Eretz Yisrael, God recalculated the 400-year period to make sure that 400 years, but that was from the time of the covenant, not 400 years in Egypt. And God's explaining, I gave you a reduction in your time of suffering because those Egyptians have cruelly treated you during this period. So that the two things, I see you did what was expected of you, and it's time for you to leave perhaps earlier than might have been, because the Egyptians have been exceedingly vicious against you. The ferocity of the time in Egypt was going to be a payment against the Egyptians and help the Jews get out a little bit easier, a little bit earlier. So one Re'iyah is for the Jewish fulfillment of the Brit Bein HaBetarim, and two, the second Re'iyah, for the ferocity of the Egyptian shibud. So when the Jews go through circumstances, HaKadosh Baruch Hu weighs two issues. Number one, the situation of the Jewish people. Have they truly learned their lesson? Have they truly come through this situation with the messages that were necessary to be imbibed? Have they really taken them in? And the second one is the severity or the difficulty of the situation also arouses HaKadosh Baruch Hu's reaction and his mercy and his redemptive power. I think this idea is important for us, because we know the ferocity of our own situation has galvanized and united our people, our nation, like we haven't been united in a long time. The last time I remember the Jewish nation being this united together purposefully was probably the 6-Day War. But again, the Jewish nation has responded to the terrible situation in Gaza by uniting after a period of real pirud, real separation, even sinat chinam. And Baruch Hashem, that's one positive that's come out of this terrible situation. The other thing is that we have to pray that the ferocity, the viciousness of Hamas would also arouse Chasdei Hashem, the divine compassion and kindness which we really need right now to bring the geula from our present tzarot, from the present difficult, untenable situation, and just maybe to bring the geula shlema as well. And that's what we have to be thinking about, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us in this week's Parsha that he responds to the combination of the Jewish awareness of the situation and the severity of what's going on around us. And I think as we go through Sefer Shmot, we have to think not just about getting ready for the Pesach Seder, what Divrei Torah can I say? But I think this year, we have to look at ourselves and see that we are in our own shibud, our own sarot, and even here in Eretz Yisrael, almost a type of galut type suffering and vicious violence against us. So I really hope that as we go through Sefer Shmot, we look at the stories and not only think about what the Bnei Yisrael went through in Egypt 3,200, 3,300 years ago, but we have to think about how this has to be applied to our situation today. And let's hope and pray that things just get better and better in Gaza. The north stays quiet. All of the surviving Chatufim, those who were seized and kidnapped, are returned. And let's just hope that this is the beginning not just of a geula from this terrible situation that we find ourselves in right now, but hopefully the beginning of the geula shlema. That's what we're doing here in Eretz Yisrael, that we want to bring it along, and it's our time to think about it very, very seriously and learn the stories well as we go through Sefer Shmot. Now, there was just a message before I say goodbye from Hannah to let us know that today's shirim have been sponsored by
Ruth Konigsberg.
And in memory of Chaim ben Moshe Halevi Zal, on the 22nd Yurtzeit, and the learning should be an aliyah for Nishmat Chaim ben Moshe Halevi, and I thank everyone. I thank everyone for joining this morning, and hope that our Chizuk Shiurim have helped us get through this difficult situation, and hopefully will help bring Klal Yisrael to a better situation starting this week and continuing onwards and upwards from that point. Again, thank you all very much. Everyone should have a Shavua Tov, and hopefully the anticipation of better days coming our way, Bezat Hashem, very, very soon. So thank you to the Konigsberg family, and hopefully the learning is a merit for Klal Yisrael and for the memory of Chaim ben Moshe Halevi Zal.